Hi my lovely friends, it's me. I am finally starting my YouTube channel. I am so excited because I can finally start posting vlogs. I can post more weed stuff on YouTube. I can post mental health stuff. That's if I can speak, that's primarily going to be what my account's about. Mainly mental health stuff, BPD, addiction recovery, stuff like that. And then fun stuff every once in a while, you know, vlogs every week. I started a vlog this week, so that'll be up too. But today's video is going to be a mental health Q&A. I asked on my TikTok for people to comment a bunch of questions, and people did, so we're gonna get straight into that video. I think we should take an honorary hit off of the pen beforehand because that sounds like a good idea. Breathe in, breathe out. So the first question is, what advice do you have for those unable to get an official diagnosis yet show lots of symptoms of BPD? My advice for this is to, one, just make sure that you've done all of your research on BPD because it could be a bunch of other things too. Two, I would say to look into DBT self-help resources like workbooks or flashcards. There are also a bunch of BPD support groups that like you can go to. They're free ones, BPD group chats, a bunch of BPD resources. I'll put all the resources that I know of for BPD/DBT in the description box below. Next question is, what are some of the first steps you took towards treating your BPD? I want to get more help, but I'm not sure where to start. Well, I just want to say that I think that it's great that you want to get help because that's the first step, honestly. Just realizing that you want to get help, that's very important. And two, I was diagnosed in the psych ward. I spent about a month in treatment, month and a half, around there, and then I got out. I worked with an individual therapist in the beginning, and I think it was just like CBT, and that didn't help. And then I started looking into what helps BPD and like how BPD is treated. I saw that there was no specific medication for it, so it's mainly therapy. And I looked on psychologytoday.com, and that website, you can type in like what mental illnesses you have, what type of therapy you're looking for, what insurance you have. Every single filter you can think of, you can put it in there, and they will give you therapists that like cater to your specific needs. And that is so helpful because I found a bunch of therapists that specialized in working with people with BPD, and then I was able to get therapy from there and start working with those therapists and then find whoever works for me. And now I found a very good DBT therapist that helps me with my borderline personality disorder. There's also the website behavioraltech.org, and that has all the DBT certified therapists and treatment centers in I know the country. I don't know if it's international, worldwide. I think it might be, but I'll put that in the description box below. Next question is tips for dealing with anxiety while you're inpatient. I have to go back since relapsing and I hate leaving my mom. One, I just want to say that I'm so sorry that you're going through that and that you're not doing that well at the moment, but just know that relapsing does happen and it does not take away from any of your progress, and you are still so strong, and I'm so proud of you for getting the help that you deserve. Also, I would just like to say that I may not have the best tips because I'm the complete opposite. I enjoy going because I hate my home, so I like leaving home. But I would say for people who get homesick while they're in the hospital to bring a comfort animal from, like a comfort stuffed animal from home, a comfort blanket, maybe like one of your mom's sweaters, you know, that you could wear. Just something that reminds you of home, that is allowed by the psych ward, allowed by the mental health facility, but something that you can like cuddle with, you know? Next question is, what's the hardest thing about BPD that you live with? And I think my answer would have to be the black and white thinking. Like, I see the world with no gray area. It's only black or white. I see people as only good or bad, and that is something that I have been trying to work on so often, and I haven't been able to work through it yet, and that's something that I've been really trying to work on with my therapist because I struggle with that so intensely. But yeah, I think the black and white thinking is the worst thing in the world for me. One of the questions is, what coping mechanisms help you? And I'm not sure if this is like an actual coping skill. Like, I know that it is, but I don't know if it's like, because it's not like a myself coping skill. Like the only coping skill that ever helps me is like calling other people or being around people, like not just making myself not alone. But I know that that's like not always possible, so I'm not sure. Next question is, how do I start recovering? And I think this is completely different for every single person. Everybody's mental health journey is completely different. And I would just like to say that you just wanting to recover is the first step. And you just asking and reaching out for help is the first step. And I think that reaching out to a mental health professional, if you can, could be very beneficial to you. And or looking up like self-help stuff, like support groups online, self-help workbooks, you know, stuff like that. Next question is, at what point in sobriety is the worst? The longest I've gone is 7 months, so I would just like to know how it goes from there, from your experience. And I was over a year sober. I was doing well. I think I was like a year and a half sober, maybe. It was a year. It was like a year and a month, I think. I was a year sober, and that was great. Right now, I am 2 days sober. I was over a year sober last year, and then I had a relapse in December. But being over a year sober, it got to a point where it was rough because I forgot how bad alcohol was for me, and I forgot the negative consequences that came from it. And I would just be like, well, I don't understand why I can't just drink. Like, I've been sober for a year, I'm fine. I can have a quick drink, like I can have a sip of wine and be completely fine. And I think that was a very bad point for me because that made me really low, and I would just constantly think about, well, why can't I have a drink? I want to drink, I should be able to drink. And it was just constantly on my mind. So I think once you've been sober for a while, it can get rough. But then I think like the first month, 2 weeks of being sober is also rough. But it does get better in the future, and I am hopeful. So don't lose hope, I promise. The next question is it normal to worry you're a narcissist when you have BPD? I talked about this with my therapist. Not the other day, it was like a while ago, but I was saying how I just constantly worry that I'm a bad person and that like everything about me is just terrible and that I'm like horrible to other people. And she was saying that yeah, a bunch of people with BPD, we think that we are like the worst people in the world. We think so little of ourselves, and we constantly think that we are like terrible, horrible, despicable people when we're not, or when that's just like our brain fogging up what we truly are. So I think that that is like an aspect of it. Maybe some people don't feel it to like the narcissist extent, but like still just thinking you're a bad person, and I think that's completely normal. And we're not bad people. Not all of us are bad people. Next question is, if you're not too uncomfortable talking about it, would you be able to talk about your personal warning signs? And my personal warning signs, whenever I feel myself getting really low and getting into a bad place again, I will only hang out with my girlfriend, or I will stay home. I'll not be eating again, I won't be sleeping again. Just mainly not like as like lively as I usually am. I think that's about it. Just, yeah, when I just start to like draw back and isolate myself, that becomes when I start to not do well. Next question is, do you have any advice for starting inpatient or outpatient treatment? And I would just like to say to go into it with a very open mind and realize that it can be a bad place, but it's not always a bad place, and the hospital should be a safe place for you and a place where you can get the help that you deserve. And if you go into it with an open mind, then you will gain so much from it. And I think that just taking everything that you learn, using a journal. Journals are so helpful. I have so many journals from all of my psych ward experiences, and they just have random notes from it, random notes from groups, random notes from middle of the night when I can't sleep, and it's nice to just look back at, you know? So I think that's my main advice. Good luck. Next question is, what steps can you take for getting a diagnosis you think you may have? I would say to literally just do so much research, as much research as you can do, and then come up with like a list of like your symptoms for the main mental illness or the diagnosis that you think you have, and how they affect your life significantly, just like the symptoms that you go through and how they affect your day-to-day life, because I think that that can really let the psychiatrist know like exactly how it's impacting you, and that'll help with your diagnosis. Next question is, what BPD symptoms do you experience the most? I think, yeah, the black and white thinking, that really affects my life. Also, I split a lot very easily, and I think that's because I'm in a relationship, and so that gets very, very, very overwhelming with BPD. So splitting can be super bad, but I think that also goes with the black and white thinking, like they go kind of hand in hand. Also, like anger and irritability, that is my main emotion, and it becomes very difficult at times. Also, unstable sense of image and like negative self-identity, self-respect, all of that. That's a big aspect for me. That's what I'm mainly working on in therapy. Yeah, I think those ones. Next question is, how did you find Sam? And if you don't know, Sam is my therapist, and I found her through psychologytoday.com. That website has so many therapists, and you can tailor it to your specific needs, and it's amazing. Next question is, could you go into more detail about addiction recovery and what it's like? I'm really curious. And I think it's different for everybody. For me, I struggled with alcohol and pills, and I now in my recovery, I like wake up and my brain is just, I miss drinking. It's not even, some days like it's not even like, oh, I want to drink. My brain is just like, I miss it, I miss it, I miss it. And I used to tell myself that like I wasn't like that bad or whatever, because I wouldn't say like I want to drink, like I would just be like I miss it. And my therapist reminded me that like I still I need to work on not missing it and being okay without alcohol. But my brain on the daily is just, I miss alcohol, I miss drinking, I miss the way I felt when I drank. And we're working through that. I'm going to AA meetings now, so that's wonderful. Yeah. Advice about relationship problems and how you and your girlfriend get through them with BPD. This is just communication is the biggest thing. Me and my girlfriend try and communicate a lot. I still struggle with this so often, and it does cause problems, but communication is key. Just talking about every single little thing. And also for us, the people with BPD, trying not to be so attacking towards the other person. Trying just to lay out how we feel without attacking the other person. And I know that's easier said than done, but communication is key without attacking, you know? Next question is, can a manic episode only last about a day? And no, that is not a manic episode then. Manic episodes are classified by the DSM as longer than lasting 4 or 5 days. Then it's considered like an actual official manic episode. Next question is, when did you get your diagnosis? I got my diagnosis in June of 2019 when I was in the psych ward for a suicide attempt. That was when they diagnosed me with BPD. What was your reaction to finding out you had BPD? I know everybody reacts to diagnoses differently, so I'm just wondering how it affected you. I had no clue what BPD was. I had never heard of it. I had no idea what they were talking about when they were telling me about it. Like they just told me that I had it, and I was just like, okay, like I don't really know what this means, but okay. And then I got out of the psych ward or got out of treatment a month later, and then I started finally looking at BPD, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense, especially the relationship stuff. That made a lot of sense for how I was like acting previously. And I think it was just very relieving to finally have a diagnosis that like completely engulfed everything that I was feeling, you know? What should someone do if therapy isn't working for them? I think that there are so many different types of therapy, and there's literally hundreds of different types of therapy and thousands of different therapists, and there is a therapist out there for everybody and a type of therapy out there for everybody. Again, Psychology Today has all therapists, all the different types of therapy. Such a good resource, and please don't feel like you should just give up on finding a therapist. There is a therapist out there for you. How do I convince my mom to take me in to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression? I would say same thing as like going to a psychiatrist. Just telling her all of your symptoms and saying that they greatly impact your life and that you are hurting so badly, and just telling her that like this is something that you really need and you just need her support on it, you know? I know it's way easier said than done, but I wish you the best of luck. Back to how I was diagnosed with BPD, diagnosed again in June 2019. How did they know that it was that disorder? So I have been basically in and out of the hospital my entire life for so many suicide attempts, suicidal ideation, and everything like that. And I have Kaiser, so it was mainly the same doctors seeing me every single time. I was an inpatient, I had gone to the same hospitals, different stuff like that. And so the last time that I was an inpatient, the doctors were looking at my history and they realized that a bunch of my suicide attempts had come from relational problems, and that was a big thing. So that was how I got diagnosed. Last question is how to deal with losing a favorite person, and this can be super difficult and super hard to deal with, and I just want to say that I'm so sorry to anybody going through this. I think that the easiest and best thing to do is just to fill your time. Keep yourself busy. Just do. Constantly be on the go and fill your time with things that you enjoy and people that you also care about and people that care about you. Because if you fill your time with activities, then it gives your mind less time to spiral. But keeping yourself busy, I think that that can be the main thing. And I'm so sorry. Okay, those are all the questions that I'm gonna answer. The other ones that were commented, I either do not really know how to answer or I'm still struggling with, so I don't have a device, and I'm so sorry if I didn't answer your question. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that asked any questions, and thank you to everybody that follows me and everybody that's now subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'm gonna be posting more often and I'm so excited. But yeah, that was it for today's video, and I hope everybody has a lovely day and you deserve all the positivity in the world. And I love you. So yeah, bye bye.